when you have friends who influence you negatively, and because let's say you're united in a dislike of something, when you start to heal yourself, as you mentioned, when you start to fix yourself, now you're not a part of them anymore because what united you is no longer a part of your life,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Because we spend, I mean, the changing of our self-concept to fit in with all of this is the creation of a false identity. And and when we begin to realize that that's not who I really am, and maybe these people, I'm going to question what they've taught me and what they've told me to believe. When we begin to question that, then we have more power to choose who we want to have in our circle, who we want to have in our ecosystem. Does that make
How,
sense? Because
yeah,
otherwise,
how can we start
we're just,
questioning that?
yeah, well, cool. So I guess we start questioning that. I guess we've got to have a realization that the way we're functioning is not who we want to be.
Oh, Sue, that can be tough. Some people don't realize that until many years while they're in it.
Yeah, I agree. But then some people don't want to change. So we, some people aren't open to change because here's the thing, the survival operating system, its biggest threat is change. So our amygdala and our survival brain, it doesn't, it would love to just wrap you and I in bubble tape, bubble wrap, and just stick us in a corner and never move. Because otherwise because that keeps the amygdala in control and it also keeps us safe from danger. But the reality of it is, we don't get to grow, we don't get to enjoy life. We're completely contracted and we have an awful, miserable life. But the amygdala's job isn't to keep us happy, it's to keep us safe from danger. So it thinks change is too risky because there could be an unknown out there and something could happen. Something wrong could happen. So don't change. Don't change who you are. Let's just keep everything the same and then it all feels safe. So that's how the very primal, primitive amygdala functions. So it's threatened by change. So the minute we think, oh, I need to change that, the amygdala, if you want to know why we never change our habits, even though we've got habits that we don't like, because the amygdala comes in and it goes, don't you dare change. You must stay the familiar way because then I'm in charge and I'm keeping you safe from danger. Because if you change, that's too risky. That's what the amygdala thinks. It doesn't have any ability to know what's good for you. It's like the smoke alarm that's just a thing, an object, and all it can do is alarm if there's burnt toast or a house fire. The smoke alarm can't make you happy and can't differentiate between the burnt toast, or a house fire. It has no ability to differentiate. That's up to us now. That's when we put on our switch on our smart brain and we go, hang on, is the house on fire or has my husband or daughter burnt the toast? Which is it? And that's when we switch on our smart brain. But it's so most people don't even know that. They don't even know that changing is a threat to their survival operating system. And that's why they don't want to change. They don't feel like they want to change, but intellectually, they might want to change. But their bodies, the amygdala is just pumping adrenaline, making you feel like you're in fear, in survival mode. It's going to pump out all the hormones to make you feel that intensely, so resistant to changing that you'll come up with every excuse under the world not to change. And you'll justify all of this away. We become so that masked self of ours, or that created self, justifies our way around not changing.
So
So then,
let me ask you a question then, Sue, because you mentioned something very good. If we want the change on a intellectual level and something is preventing us from changing, then why do we ask others to change when we know deep down is something that we will struggle with?
Ah, well, that's it. So we're wanting others to change. Well, there can be two reasons why. I mean, one of them is because they're triggering us and exposing things in us that we wish either we had done or that we could change in ourselves. And then the other one is sometimes when you've done the work, you can see what's going on now because you've experienced it yourself and you've come out the other end and you just want to help that person because you can see why they're stuck. But so that from our point of view, I suppose, if you're well in this journey, you can see it in them, can't you? And you just want them to wake up and realize what can happen, how their life can be so much better, but they can't see it. So I guess our job there, and still learning this, is to help people see a new perspective.